All right.
Welcome to the Dawg Chug. It's Super Bowl week that nobody wants. Cavs just hit a dagger to win that game. That was amazing. And I don't know, a little newsworthy this week in Cleveland. We got Nick Karns here. He is going to be with us the whole show, so it's going to be a great show. Ed and Roger, how's it going tonight?
Roger, it's going good. Ed, you got something. Go ahead, Ed. There's a big change tonight.
What the shit is that?
Yeah, well, this is a Coca-Cola that is commemorating the 2024 national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes. And I say this, Andy, I got, the Jack and Coke. I don't have the Jack, but I got the Jack Sawyer spirit with the Buckeyes scoop and score, and I got the Coke. So we're doing it big in Columbus, where we are the city of champions.
Any truth to the rumor Myles is trying to get traded to the Buckeyes?
Honestly, that would I don't know if Ryan Day would want him after what he did today on Radio Row. We'll see. We'll talk about that on the show. We got a great show, Andy.
All right. Well, look, it's going to be a lot of fun. Ed, I think you have a lot prepared. Why don't you get us started?
Okay, well, we'll do our normal with this is Ed in Columbus with your Dawg Chug. Breaking news. The Cleveland Guardians packed up their big rigs and are headed to Arizona for spring training. Too bad the team will spend more in gas on the trip than they did in the roster upgrades this season. On Monday, Browns fans staged a protest at the stadium due to frustration over the team's lack of success. But there were more reporters covering it than there were actual protesters. At the Dawg Chug, we can relate. See the number of people on the screen? Yeah, that's more than the number of viewers the show will get.
Nice.
And finally, the big story in Cleveland is after 8 seasons, Myles Garrett has requested a trade. And he said, who said athletes are different physically and mentally than normal folks? Because a normal person wants out of Cleveland in only 8 minutes. And this is Ed in Columbus with your Dawg Chug. Breaking news. Wow. And yes, I fucked that up.
Good job, Ed.
Thank you. Yeah, not really.
You brought it home, Ed.
Yeah, kind of. Sorry, Cleveland. I love you. I love you, Cleveland.
They had the Buckeyes Texas game on ESPN randomly last night, so I just watched it over again. It was great.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Why don't you? That was like the appetizer. Great job with Breakhead News. Why don't you now set up the big bit, the top 10?
Yeah.
Well, that's right, Andy. We have a top 10, but hey, you guys a surprise. I had Roger do a top 10, but Andy, I had you do a top 10, but I didn't tell you guys that you're doing a top 10 because
you're having us both do top 10s.
Well, Andy, I caught Ed School taught me that a little bit that you like to surprise people, Andy, and I thought I'd flip the script tonight and surprise you two, and we have a great judge tonight. I think Nick Karns will be the judge here, so I'm gonna have you two do a top 10, and then Nick will pick the winner, and I'll let you guys decide who wants to go first tonight.
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm more upset about being bamboozled or more angry towards Roger, who I'm going to destroy.
Ooh. You know what? You're not going to come close to my topic, let alone any of my top 10s. How are we going to go? Who's going to go first?
I think ladies should go first. So why don't you go, Roger?
All right. I'll go first. These are from the home office in Gaylord, Michigan. These are the top 10 reasons Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the Cleveland Browns. Here we go. Number 10, the Browns refused to change Chomps the dog mascot to a dinosaur named Jocko. Number 9, Stefanski never returned the weed whacker he borrowed in June. Number 8, Browns asked him to sell his owner shares in the Cleveland Cavs. All the winning is make Haslam look bad. Number 7, Jerry Jones offered him a defensive coordinator job on top of playing defensive line. Number 6, JW blew Myles extension money on hookers and blow. This is when he started getting good. Number 5, this is a direct quote from Myles Garrett. Roses are red, Myles is blue. Nick Karns hasn't wrote a poem about me since 2022. Number 4, DePodesta called ICE and reported Garrett's maid. Number 3, Myles overheard Haslam defend Mason Rudolph and said, that son of a bitch, just a good old boy. Number 2, He found out D. Haslam is a Nazi.
Ooh.
And the number one reason Myles Garrett has requested a trade from the dumpster fire in Berea, we went from a quarterback who woke up feeling dangerous to a quarterback who woke up being the most dangerous sexual predator in the NFL. I'm Roger for Chicago Falls, and yes, my mother did have me tested.
Pretty good, Raj. That was pretty good. Where could I? If I had known I was going head to head with you, I would have put way more time than 10 minutes on mine.
You got an uphill climb there, Mandy.
All right. Well, without further ado, let me get my.
Here we go.
These are the top 10 actual reasons Myles Garrett wanted out of Cleveland.
Oh, to say, okay. Okay.
All right. Number 10. Myles Garrett was the original Baker Bro and finally had enough. Number 9. All his rides kept getting damaged from the fucking Cleveland potholes. By the way, that was an Ed submission.
I love it.
Number 8. It was getting too hard coming up with new excuses to blow off J.W. Johnson every weekend. Number 7. This is all part of his master plan to get traded to Tennessee so we could finish off Mason Rudolph. Number 6. Because he fucking hates the movie Christmas Story. Number 5. Living in Cleveland is a constant reminder that Myles can't chug as good as Andy, fall asleep as good as Roger, or be as irrelevant as Ed.
I don't like that one.
I didn't write these. This was really for Myles. Number 4. His biggest fan in Cleveland drives a fucking bread truck and is a shitty poet. Looking good, Nick. Number 3, a fortune teller told him the only parade Cleveland would experience over the next 20 years are the next 3 times we go winless. Number 2, every time he'd shake Dee Haslam's hand, it would be moist like she'd just gotten done fist banging herself. And the number 1 reason Myles actually wants out of Cleveland, it's because he's a fucking quitter. And that's what he's going to look like soon.
Wow.
There you have it.
Oh,
This
Andy,
is
you win.
This is a neck and neck competition. Oh man.
Hey, that's some top-notch content creating right there, Nick Karns. You don't come across that every day.
No,
Cleveland
we
podcast.
certainly do not.
And by the way, big props to Myles for photo shooting all those pictures with me. Those were not generated by AI.
I'm gonna I'm gonna give, you know what, for graphic representation, I have to give Andy the slight edge. Roger, your content is great, but Andy even went above and beyond and got the.
I think we lost Nick.
See?
Well, then it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
Oh, are we back?
We're back. We're back.
I've never seen fat Myles Garrett in my life.
Yeah.
I think that image is going to stay with me for a while.
Yeah.
So I got to give it narrowly, Roger, to Andy on this one.
He's just being nice. I smoked you.
You know, I suffer. Mine suffer because I'm not technical. I have Look, I have index cards here, Nick. I can't,
it.
you know, like
Tried and true.
Pictures of fat Myles are going to win every time. I can't even debate it. So, Andy, that was great. I got to give it to you. That was tremendous. Well
Cheers
done.
to you both. Cheers to you both.
Roger, it was a good competition. We'll have to do it again.
It was what, you know what? Great content.
Ed, really good job there.
I learned from the best, but I do want to give a shout out. It's time that we give a shout out to our viewers out there. They are real people. They are out there. So shout out to MC Lawrence. MC Lawrence is in the house. He's screaming out Drew. Also Pronky Dong.
Great.
Talking about obviously where you got your list from, Roger. Gaylord, Michigan, I believe. Also, Drew says Roger won that one, so shout out to Drew.
There you go, Drew.
Yeah,
Drew in Brick City.
That's where we're at on that.
Thanks for the comment, Drew. Now go ahead and fuck off.
I only get my images of T. Higgins on Temu.
Oh,
that was a thing today.
Yeah, that's
all right. Okay, so do we have any? I think that's it for our
Yeah, that was a good opening, man. We did good. I'm glad I stayed away. I'm glad I stayed away for it.
I gotta ask all three of you. How do you okay? Myles Garrett releases the letter requesting a trade. Now he goes on a whole podcast spree on Internet Row. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life. I want to know where your heads are at after seeing this. I mean, you got Mina Kimes, you got Rich Eisen, you've got a whole bunch of other guys. You got the Eagles recruiting him actively, and he's saluting them. Have you ever seen anything like this in your life?
No, I can't remember a time something like this occurred. And yeah, I mean, he said it was the hardest decision in his life, but he's not being very sensitive to the Browns fans right now. Seems like he's enjoying the fact that all of a sudden the whole football community is talking about him. And yeah, I don't know. I would maybe counsel him to calm it down a little bit. Maybe just do one interview. I mean, he has the right to get the message out there. That's kind of how I feel. What about you, Ed and Roger?
Well, I think Nick has actually been reading our first statement on Spit, Sip, Chug, because that's what we're going to go into. So I won't go into too much depth, but I do like the premise to that. No, I haven't seen anything like it, Nick. I think it's disappointing. I that unfortunately, once again, Cleveland gets thrown in a bad, awkward position because, you want to do right by the players, but you also, you got to save face, because at the end of the day, we can hate this organization. We've been mad at this organization. We can be protesting this organization, but ultimately it will be this organization is the one that we root for winning a Super Bowl, not just for an individual player. And from the looks of it, won't be Myles Garrett being part of a Cleveland championship. So that's where I'm at with that one. Roger.
You know what, man? You know what? You know me. I'm on X, and there's this a female who obviously is like, she is probably Mrs. Garrett, like Lana is Miss Stefanski, and she's distraught. And she just gave me this list of things that he did about his mom's murals downtown and this, and it's a business, man. You know what I mean? And she was in the third stage, it's denial. It's a business. Myles Garrett, you know what, man? That dude, he's got balls so big, he flipped a Porsche. He almost killed an innocent, passenger that he had in it. And he stood in front of the media and he said, "My quick reflexes, I saved our life." You're driving recklessly, flying around on country roads, and you're going to take credit for saving. It don't work like that, Myles. You know what I mean? Andy knows I was on record. I hated him for a long time. I bought in once Schwartz got here, so I don't expect anything less than Myles. He's not from here. He asked Jerry Jones to come get him, before the draft. He has absolutely no loyalty to Cleveland. Is that the is that
it kind of is, but hey, I don't want to get in trouble for silencing the voices here.
I'm sorry, Ed.
But no, it's I get it, man. It's there's no player above the Cleveland Browns for me.
I mean, clearly from the way he worded his letter, he's frustrated with the top brass of the Cleveland Browns. And he probably is justified for being frustrated. Although his message has changed a bit in the last 6 months. But at the end of the day, this fan base has just unequivocally supported him. And I don't know, it's not a good look to break up with us and say it was so hard and then just to go start celebrating finding his new boo, right? While we're still
his boo thing, yes.
I mean, even if you waited a week to kind of do that, I mean, we're still processing, everyone's still reeling. Twitter is not a very fun place to be right now. Nick Karns is divorcing Andrew Berry over this whole thing. He's melting down. Yep. So I don't know. I think,
I'm having a great time out there.
Yeah. We're watching it burn, and that's what the Dawg Chug loves to do. But I think,
knew it was going to burn, though. So,
Look, at the end of the
So
day,
you guys
we're all
just don't
waiting
come back up.
for like the savior of Cleveland to come and deliver us a Super Bowl. And I think Myles is just one more name on that list. He's not who we thought he was. He's not the hero that we needed. And now we just gotta, keep waiting until someone comes that we actually can get the job done.
I don't know, man. Would we have killed Joe Thomas if he would have went to Dallas when they wanted him? I think it's a different scenario because he didn't do the Radio Row thing and all that. But at some point, if we never won, and he's towards the end, and it happened like the Joe Thomas thing almost happened, and Joe Thomas shut it down, from what I understand.
He was going to go to. They were going to trade him to Denver, and I think they talked to him.
Oh, Denver! I'm sorry, Denver. Denver. It was Denver. Peyton Manning was there. You're right. You're right.
And he said he wanted to stay in Cleveland, so they respected it. And I thought that was awesome. And I don't think anyone is killing Myles for wanting to leave. Like he's allowed to want to leave after 8 years. Right. And the truth of the matter is, organizationally, because this roster got cratered by this black hole of the worst trade ever, there's no version of the Browns being competitive this year. I mean, they might be fun this year, and they might be like a good, 7-10 team on the way up that we'll all enjoy a hell of a lot more than we did this year. But it's still going to be a disappointing year if your goal is the Super Bowl. So I don't fault Myles at all for saying, I only have a couple of prime years left, and I'd really love to spend it winning today. And clearly the Browns can't deliver that because we did such a bad job with that trade. So I don't fault him at all for wanting out. Again, it's just maybe he shouldn't have done all those interviews today. But whatever, he's allowed to do what he wants to do, and we're allowed to hold a little bit of animosity towards him. And maybe we don't love him as much as we would have. I don't know. It's kind of how I see it.
I watched public sentiment change literally through the afternoon regarding Myles, because
I love the charge. I loved it.
It happened like the flick of a switch. It honestly, I thought about it. Initially, I was sad. And Ed, I know Spit Sip Chug is coming, so I'll make it.
No, just keep this up. Just keep it up.
Keep going.
I just feel like, okay, it's one thing for Myles Garrett to request a trade, submit the letter, mock Andrew Berry while doing so, right? Which you so nicely pointed out. And it's another thing to physically watch him just talk about his fit with other teams. It's like if your significant other showed you their Tinder interests or whatever, like it's like they're going through potential matches for them and they're showing you, and it's like, are we not in a relationship here? And that's kind of what hit me, at least. And then all of a sudden I went from sad to insulted, because it is just yet another reason to make fun of the Cleveland Browns and just have them be the butt of every joke. And I'm just so, I think what hurts and why I'm so angry about it is that when the Browns went 1-31 and they built up this talent of Ward, Chubb, Baker, Garrett, the core that they had built, I really thought that they had turned the corner. And I thought that we had left like the truly terrible days behind. Like, okay, fine. You're going to go 6 and whatever sometimes, but you're not going to go, 2 and whatever, 3 and what. And it's like, here we are at 3-14. And I think the hardest part about it, and honestly, I appreciate Myles for it in this way, because the regime itself and the ownership and the team was more or less like, we're going to fire Ken Dorsey and we're just going to run this thing back. And that's fine. We went 3-14, whatever, right? They didn't act like they had gone 3-14. They didn't act like it was a terrible season. They didn't act like they had just won one of the fewest win totals in the NFL with the most expensive roster within it, right? They just fired their offensive coordinator and went about their business as usual. And it's like, most fans, I think, were willing to accept that until Myles says, hey, I want out of here. We're not doing this again. We're not just running this back and writing off 3-14 and writing off this black hole, as you so aptly called it, Andy. And so now, especially for me, it becomes very clear that this regime has run the team into the ground, and that the 2020 run and even making the playoffs last year feels like such a distant memory now because of how bad it's gotten so quickly. And it's like this Myles saga really seems to mirror that in that, it's like he requests trade, and now all of a sudden he's like really burnt, like just tossing gasoline on the fire by actively flirting with other teams on Radio Row at the Super Bowl. The Browns have never, they just feel so far from all of it. And I think it's just salt in the wound to see your best player and the best player of my lifetime, personally, flirting with other teams as the Super Bowl festivities are kicking off.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I can't get out of my head about this whole situation, if you think back to the Denver days when they wanted Joe Thomas and Joe wanted to be here, and that's why Joe's a legend, and he just has my undevoted love. He'll always have that. But if you think about it, had he said, you know what, I'd like to go compete for a Super Bowl, go ahead and trade me for a first-round pick for Denver. I struggle with the fact that as a fan, I'm so glad Joe stayed with the Browns and showed that loyalty. But I think like the Browns would have had a better chance at not being terrible had we had that extra first-round pick. The difference of not trading Joe Thomas is we had one more shitty year with Joe Thomas on a roster. Didn't help anyone, right? So the way I'm kind of looking at this right now, and let's say Myles Garrett has like 3 more years of his prime, and then he starts kind of going downhill a little bit. Maybe realistic, maybe it's more, I don't know. But if we actually get like 3 first-round picks for this guy, it's not like we're competing this year. It's not like we're competing next year, most likely.
Right.
We have like a 1-year window where Myles is still in his prime, in my opinion. So
I said trade him in November.
Yeah, like trading him is probably the best thing for the franchise. And I understand we're angry that, this roster's been cratered, but the point of the matter is we dug such a hole by investing so much in Deshaun Watson and then continually front loading more dollars or backloading, whatever. We made it so much worse than it had to be. There's no easy solution here. Like we have to rip it back down to the studs, so to speak. And if trading him gets us the draft picks faster to not make this a 4-year process, but like a 1-2-year process where maybe we find our quarterback during that time, that's the best case scenario for the Cleveland Browns. Because the one thing we have not had through the 25 years of sucking is a quarterback. And I don't know if the guy's out there in this draft. I don't know if he's out there next draft, but at least we have the bullets to go find out, right? Potentially. So I'm kind of excited. I know like it's going to really suck if Myles leaves, but what we'd be able to recoup for him in his prime, I think would really catapult us back to being able to love this team again. That's kind of where I'm at. And I don't know if Andrew Berry's the right guy, Kevin Stefanski's the right guy. We get to figure all that out, but I love the idea of adding all the ammunition we could potentially add. And at the end of the day, do we have to start thinking about trading Ward, who did come out and say today that he would have to think about being traded? Do we have to think about trading
Ward? Ship him off too.
The one thing we did not have in 2016 was talent on the roster. There was no talent. So we actually had to wait till those draft picks, developed and all kind of came together. And that took a few years. It was very painful. I don't think we're in that position right now. So realistically, going through last season, there was no way this thing was going to turn around easily. So I'm kind of excited. Dominoes are falling that could make the Browns relevant more quickly than I thought it was going to take. So
I 100%. I'm chugging on that.
We had Jamie Meter in 2016, by the way. I just all the
Pierogi Prince of Parma.
That's right. King of pierogies.
Pierogi Prince of Parma, Valley Forge Patriot.
If you're out there, Jamie Meter, Andy said some things that we had no talent. I disagree. And shout out to you wherever you are. Maybe you're eating a nice pierogi.
Drink a whole 6-pack tonight.
We had meager talent.
No, Andy, I think you were more right than what I'm giving you. Yeah,
like a commentary.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing though. Like if you think about it, we were going to draft like 10th in this draft. And then all of a sudden, everything aligned to where we're drafting second. Deshaun Watson re-ruptured his Achilles or whatever. So now the process of getting out from under that contract just got tremendously easier. There's no way you could trade a Hall of Fame player off of your roster. You just can't do it. Like you get killed if you try to trade Myles Garrett. Right. Well, now that suddenly is looking like it has to happen. So I don't know. Like it's looking more like things are aligning where it's more shorter term than the 3 years of just being irrelevant that we kind of went through back in those Hugh Jackson days.
As much as it sucks to like, obviously if Myles Garrett gets traded, Denzel Ward, and I get it. I get why he's saying that, because Denzel Ward is like the other veteran of that defense that's on a really big contract that's, been there.
But he's from Cleveland, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's from
But I get why he's saying that. So I'm just trying to, I've reached a stage of acceptance in this, where I was really resistant for a long time to rebuild. And I've just I've just accepted that we are at rebuilding. So the bright side of potentially trading Denzel Ward is he's had so many concussions. I just worry about, which one is his last, where he just says, I'm done now. And so you've got a healthy Denzel Ward who's still, I think he's under contract for 2 more years as well. I may be mistaken there. But my point is his value is also going to be super high because he was really good last year. Lost in a lost season was that Denzel Ward was also really good. And so you can probably get significant value for him as well, which, all that stuff, if you trust the dude drafting, I'm not feeling great about Andrew Berry, but I do think we're in more of a lame duck season than we are anything. Now, I mean, small odds can happen. Maybe they do draft a quarterback and they find some success, hope. But more than likely, I think the path here is that this is a lame duck season and that they just go through it. They're bad. They pick number 1 overall again, and they have a really appealing job to somebody. I think that is where this path leads. And so I've accepted that. We're going to watch college football like never before and hopefully have a ton of draft picks that we can get excited about. And somebody else is going to really want this job and hopefully know what the hell they're doing. That's where I'm at right now. Personally, I'm going to watch more college football next year. This is my pledge than I ever have in my whole life, because I want to know about every one of these guys. Because the Browns should, if we fulfill this path and we trade Myles Garrett and we trade Denzel Ward, we're going to have an ass ton of picks.
Ass ton.
Hey, Nick, Texas at Ohio State week 1.
There it is.
Nick, if I got a guy, if you don't watch all of them, I got a guy you can follow, Jacob Roach. Follow him.
I know that guy.
And he'll cover everything you might miss. Jacob got it. Don't worry about it.
I think
he covers every corner from just he's on top of it.
I think the Browns have made him dive even deeper into it. He's just like, who are the Browns? What is that? All I know is
nobody's
prospect evaluation. Yeah.
Nobody's seen him in 3 weeks.
I miss him.
All right. Well, why don't we get to the meat of this bone and let's.
Okay, that's right. It is time for our
more beer
main staple on the Dawg Chug. That is time for Spit, Sip, Chug. I will say a statement. It is a statement, not a question. If you heavily agree with that statement, you will chug. If you're lukewarm on it, you will sip. And if you heavily disagree, you will spit. Unfortunately, Andy's wife has to clean up his spit, but it's sad. It's a sad story, but I think they're working on it. I will say that statement, but I will say this. I'll start with you, Andy, on this one first. And it's kind of what we talked about, but I want the caveat of, okay, so here's a statement. Myles Garrett has handled this trade request unprofessionally. I want you to answer this or your response to be from a organizational standpoint, from a fan's organizational, not from Myles' standpoint at all, but just from you're the Cleveland Browns, you're seeing what's going on. Has Myles Garrett handled this trade press unprofessionally?
Yeah, so I think the Browns have a major issue with like being honest about what they're doing. I think they tell you what they think is the best way to convey something. It's sort of like when you're getting laid off or when you're doing a job interview, whatever the recruiter's telling you is not what they're really thinking. And sometimes it's so absolutely obvious. I always get the feeling that the Browns really, really, really were miserable last year because of all the bullshit that the Browns couldn't be honest about how bad Deshaun was. And just kept saying, he's the guy that gives us the best chance to win. Football players feed off of, I think, honesty. Like, you just got to talk to them like men, and then they'll dig in and do the best they can. As soon as they get that hint that there's some bullshit going on, it's sort of like when I'm trying to discipline my kids and I'm not completely honest with them, it doesn't go well. So I think there is some legitimate reasons for Myles to be frustrated. I think he told them exactly what he wanted and what he thought. And I think he was just upset that Andrew Berry went on, did some press and made it seem like, oh yeah, we're all good. We're never going to trade him. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's going to be very happy here. When Myles said, wait, I'm not happy here. And he acted the way he did. So I don't know if I'm a little more disappointed, I think, in the way that Browns handle themselves organizationally than I think I am with Myles being frustrated. So I'm going to go with, how am I answering this? Garrett handled, I think what he did what he had to do, and I'm good with it. So I'm going to, what am I doing? Spitting on this one?
Yeah, you'll be spitting. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go next, and I'm gonna actually chug on this because, like I said, this is from like an organizational standpoint, or even a Browns fan standpoint, is what the statement is. Because I'm definitely chugging. Here's why. Of course, Myles Garrett went to the Browns and basically said, I probably want to be traded. And of course, they probably said, no, you have 2 years left and we can franchise you for 2 more years after that. And like a petulant child, he didn't like that. He's got LeBron in his ear. And LeBron probably told him, well, you can just make it a national thing and make all your concerns and everything out in public. And people obviously around the nation know the Browns have not been winners, so they're going to probably more or less side with Myles Garrett and say, of course you went out of Cleveland. Then the Cleveland joke come out, and then, so Myles is feeling good about himself. He's on at Radio Row. He's thinking he's the man, even though the way that he's treated is, team that drafted him is kind of a little bit harsh and unfair. And I know he feels that he's earned enough cachet that he can dictate this, but this isn't the NBA. Where a player can just do is the NFL. And Myles Garrett, it's great as you are, and it's great for all those people out there that want to get Abdul Carter at number 2 and pair with Myles Garrett. Look, I don't know what is wrong with people in Cleveland. A lot of these people, are you just afraid to take a quarterback because you're never going to win shit? I don't care how great your defense is. This ain't the 85 Bears or the 2000 Ravens. I don't care how great you are, Myles Garrett. You are still 3-14 this year. I don't know what you think. So if we can land 2 number 1s and get some number 2s, bye-bye. So yes, unprofessional Myles Garrett. I understand your frustration, but also Myles Garrett, you want to talk about unprofessional, like to Roger alluded to earlier, that helmet thing that you did with Pittsburgh. I know in Cleveland, we all get excited because he hit the hated Steelers. And I get that from a rivalry standpoint. But from a professional standpoint, you cannot assault another person that you work with. That's called assault. Now, I know it's in a game and everything, but what you did actually was assault. And I know you implicated some things racially that may or may not have been true, unfounded. Okay, believe me this, Mike Tomlin, who had Mason Rudolph on the team the rest of the year and the next year, if the things that Myles Garrett allegedly said were true, he would not be on the team anymore. Do you think Mike Tomlin would have put up with that? So, Myles, I think you stretched that one a little bit, too, to fit your narrative. And it seems like what he's doing now is stretching the truth to fit his narrative once again. So, Myles Garrett, if this is how you are, I appreciate the 8 years of service that you put in for the Cleveland Browns, because I don't doubt for 1 second that you didn't give it your all. But the way you're going out, you're punking Cleveland, and the difference between you and LeBron is LeBron at least got us a ring. Roger.
Can I respond really quick? Sorry,
yes.
Roger.
Yeah. No, go ahead. Go.
The first point, and everything you said about Mason, totally fair game. But I just want to make a point. I think it's really important, even though it's the NBA is a little different than the NFL. You have to treat your stars like stars. You can't Like, it's not like Alex Wright going out there and saying, hey, I have a contract issue. You could say to him, hey, sorry, you're under contract for 2 more years. Like, no one knows who you are outside of Cleveland. Myles Garrett's one of the biggest names, non-quarterback names in football. I think you have to handle him with gloves, and the Browns failed to do that.
Look at the Bengals, though. Look what the Bengals did with Jamar Chase. They said, hey, we're not going to – Jamar Chase showed up, and he balled out.
I'm chugging that the Bengals organization is a joke, too.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying the way they handled Jamar Chase. Hey, the Browns don't have to do Myles any favors here. They don't. They really control everything.
Right. I want to have faith in my front office. I have zero faith in the Bengals front office. And I think, look, there's going to be a point where their quarterback says enough is enough. I've had it with this joking organization. That's coming. I mean, I believe it's coming. It'll be Joe Burrow next. He'll be the new Myles Garrett next year.
Myles Garrett for Joe Burrow. Who says no?
Well, yeah. But
Bengals can't afford any of them.
The point is, I think the Browns have to, like, if the guy is this big of a name, you sort of have to like handle him a little differently than anyone else on the team. So I respect what you're saying, but I think the Browns kind of handled this. They caused the storm that is now that we're all kind of going through right now, and they could have maybe prevented it. Is my thought. Anyway, just want to respond. If you want to.
Well, the only thing I want to push back a little bit when you say they could have prevented the storm. The 3-14 already happened. If he didn't like the plan, but how could they have prevented him from going out in public? Because if a good player like that, Myles, comes into Andrew Berry's office and says, I want to be traded, Andrew Berry looks at him, you're a generational talent. You're a first overall pick. You're the face of the franchise. Of course, I'm not going to trade you. Like, that's to be expected. Did Myles Garrett think the Browns are just going to be like, oh, yeah, we're going to trade you? Like, that's asinine to think that you're putting in the Browns in a precarious position, and to think that Myles Garrett was going to walk in there and the Browns would be like, oh, yeah, we're just whatever you want, Myles. I think the Browns are no normal organization would let a generational player go.
I don't think you can have a guy, the best player in your team, not buy into what you're doing. If Myles says I don't have faith in where we're headed, then you got to just trade him.
Well, yeah, and I think Andy, we're arguing his timeline. Right. How long has this been going on for? Maybe that's the case.
Who knows? But at the end of the day, like, you can't say I understand you're frustrated, Myles, but it's going to be okay, bud. And then you go out in the media and say, hey, he's going to be here. He loves it here. Everything's going to be good. He's going to the Hall of Fame.
Draft Shedeur Sanders and things will be okay.
All right. So anyway, that's
Roger.
I don't think Andrew Berry handled this situation. Of course, I don't know. We weren't there, but I feel like
I'm not sticking up for Andrew. By the way, I'm not sticking up for Andrew Berry at all.
Yeah, Roger.
I think, you know what? What is unprofessionally? It's a relative term. What view are you looking at it from? The fans' view,
the fans of the Browns,
or Myles Garrett's view? Because that's personal. Like Andy just said, it's for him to, and it's all based on a game, on a child's game, and it's all relative because it relies on us as fans to pay money to watch this, and it's become a point where. Now he's on Radio Row. It's gone national. It's a soap opera and it's a drama and it's TMZ almost. You know what I mean? And it's in the spotlight and it's all negative to the city of Cleveland. So did Myles handle his trade request unprofessionally as a fan? Absolutely, because as Cleveland fans, as much as he proclaimed to love it here, and we've put up, we've backed him 100% when he tried to. You know what? He was training with the MMA fighters at the time. He was how many penalties did he get? 15-yard personal foul during that year where he was getting violent with his hands. He said, learning how to get violent with his hands, and he's training with these fighters, and he took it onto the football field. The Brown, as fans, we had his back when he tried to kill somebody with a helmet. You know what I mean? When he wrecked his car, it was just brushed off. And then he bought. I think the Browns took for granted that he bought into the Cavs and that he cemented here, like Joe Thomas. I think that was the Browns' mistake. That because he bought a percentage of the Cavs, that he'd be just like Joe Thomas and he is there no matter what. But unprofessionally as a fan, yeah, because as a Cleveland fan, we're just another joke. Super Bowl week on Radio Row, as Myles Garrett walks around. You know what? I'd trade Myles Garrett to the worst team I can trade him to, so I can get a better pick in the fucking picks that I got coming to. Fuck him. We don't owe him nothing. So yeah, as unprofessional as a fan, fuck him. I'd get 2 first-round picks in the top 10 and trade them to Jacksonville or Carolina or somewhere and let them go there and win. And walk down Radio Road next year. So I guess I'm chugging.
Nice.
I think
Nick,
Took me a long time to
I
get
think
it all.
I think Andy is the only thing saving us from Dawg Chug because
Wow.
personally, I feel like I should chug.
I'll chug with you, Nick.
I'm chugging again too. Let me.
Oh
I
man,
got the Market
That's a lot of
Garden.
gold.
I got to get these guys to sponsor us. I got the Hayes Bro Market Garden. Pretty
Well, there
good,
you go.
man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Good place, Market Garden.
Nice.
I
So
know.
here's where
I plumbed the place.
I know you had said that, and that's pretty damn cool, Roger.
This guy should give us free beer, man. I'm gonna make a clip, Ed.
Did you
The
let him
Market
know
Market
we
Garden
have,
Brewery,
we have multiple people
25th in
watching?
Lorraine. Huh?
Did you tell him we have multiple people watching
There
live?
it
At
is.
least multiple people.
I think this is the hardest thing for me is, normally Super Bowl week is filled with Super Bowl storylines and, whatever other nonsense they can come up with because it's a 2-week layoff. Every NFL headline, NFL Live right now, the headline of that is Myles Garrett's picture, Myles Garrett's trade request, and the Browns are just a dumpster fire again. And you know what? I just feel like the letter comes out, and obviously the Browns are the butt of some jokes, but it's like Myles Garrett's respectful. Well, I couldn't name 5 players in my lifetime, I'm 34 years old, that I've ever seen actively flirt with other teams, like on video for everybody to see. Like, obviously it happens. I'm not naive, right? I understand that it happens, but you are doing it so publicly and so it's just all of this has been so quick, right? The trade request was a couple days ago, and now it's like you're on Radio Row talking about what your possible fits would be and saluting the Eagles thing and talking about Washington. And it's just, I feel incredibly disrespected by it. I feel like the Browns fans are the biggest losers in all of this.
Right.
And
All of
and I just feel like
The city of Cleveland.
the letter was really professional. I can understand why Myles wants out. You're 29
Right.
years old, and Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta and they're smarter than you, whatever nonsense has run this franchise into the ground. Okay, I get that, Myles. You want to go win? That's fine. I would have been, for the record, I would have been okay if Joe Thomas went as well, because you understood the Browns were going
That's
nowhere.
where I was trying to go with that earlier. I'd have been fine if Joe went to Denver.
Fine. Right? But now you're just gonna go be this player that's just literally begging. Like there were those like little clips of like "come get me" or whatever after the game. This is like I saw him with Mina Kimes. I saw him with Rich Eisen. I saw him with the Eagles, whoever. And it's like you are doing everything you can to not only burn these bridges, but to apply as much public pressure to the Cleveland Browns as you can. And I get why you're doing that, but it just makes us look like this, like the Cleveland Browns being a clown show again is the story of Radio Row. Before it's the top NFL story. It's the top NFL story, and it just sucks. It's like
only Dawg Chug's allowed to make fun of the Cleveland Browns. That's it.
That's right.
Nobody
it's
else.
Embarrassing. It sucks. I have no idea where this ends or how this goes, because on one hand I say, okay, Andrew Berry's done pretty good with a bunch of trades. Now he's done really bad with one of them, but he's done a bunch. He's done a bunch of good with a lot of trades. So I don't know. Maybe he can get the value. This is the first time in like 25 years, if I'm not mistaken, that all 32 NFL teams have had their own first round pick. Teams are becoming really stingy with first round picks. Now, obviously, Myles Garrett's a guy who could command that and get that. But for me right now, I'm just struggling because it's like I look at it and say, Andrew Berry and Paul DePodesta got us here. And why in the world am I trusting them to get us out of it? Why? Why would I? And that's that. See, like, if you're looking for optimistic Nick, it's like I need a reason to believe in the people that are making these picks, and that's the problem. That's been my whole life. It's always been like, oh, you traded Trent Richardson, which should have been like an amazing trade for a first round pick. That guy was cooked on arrival, and it's like it doesn't matter if you take these extra first round picks and you spend it on Brady Quinn or Johnny Manziel or Justin Gilbert or whoever. Right? It doesn't matter. I need faith. I need faith in the person making the picks. And that's my disconnect right now, is that I just don't trust Andrew Berry. And so not only do I think it's embarrassing, I'm just personally really struggling as a fan because I think this is a lame duck regime. I just don't see any way that they survive this next year. How? How could you possibly, with the current
I have the solution. I know how.
Short of Shedeur Sanders coming in and being the next Jaden Daniels, how do you survive?
I know how.
How?
I know how. Because Jimmy Haslam's calling the shots. And all they're doing is saying yes, sir, and doing what he tells them to do. He's another Jerry Jones. The only reason they have jobs is because they're willing to do what he tells them to do. He fucked up on the Deshaun Watson. He listen. This goes all the way back. This goes all the way back to him telling Sashi Brown and Paul DePodesta, yes, I believe in you. I will follow this plan. They are halfway through the plan. They draft Myles Garrett and they draft David Njoku. Ron Wolf gets into Haslam's ear, tells him, you can't let these nerds run this thing. You need to get rid of them. He cuts it off. They were going to hire Buffalo's coach,
Sean McDermott,
and he cuts it off. He hires Hugh Jackson. He stops him short. Then he hires John Dorsey. Okay. Then John Dorsey takes the 17th overall pick, and he gets Odell Beckham. He trades for Odell Beckham. When who's sitting in the second round goes all the way to the second round is AJ Brown and DK Metcalf. All right. Jimmy Haslam. That's what started all of this mess. Is Jimmy Haslam. That's when they drafted Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett went through the whole cycle of the core that should have been. Everybody gives John Dorsey credit for getting Nick Chubb. Sashi Brown gave him Sashi Brown conjured up a second-round pick out of thin fucking air with money and Brock Osweiler. And he got us a second-round pick that ended up being Nick Chubb. And Austin Corbett, who his coaching staff couldn't develop, that ended up not being a bust. And Wyatt Teller was a dart that he threw at the board because he brought in 5 guards to try to fix that mistake. And Wyatt Teller played only one game during John Dorsey's regime. It was the last game of the year. John Dorsey gets zero credit for Wyatt Teller. I'm tired of all of this. It started with Odell Beckham. The Deshaun Watson trade is a byproduct of trying to it's been a mess since Jimmy Haslam puts his fucking hands in it. And right now, the only reason that Paul DePodesta and Andrew Berry have a job is because they're doing what Jimmy Haslam tells them to fucking do. That's it. He's been at the bottom of all of this since the beginning, and Jimmy Haslam needs to go back to Tennessee. And I wish I had one of them crown apples. I'd chug it right now, Andy. I'm so fucking pissed.
That's all he needs right now.
Right. So Roger is saying that until we get Haslam out of town, this shit's going to continue. Unfortunately, we don't have the power to get Haslam out of town. So I guess we either have to decide to continue being a Browns fan with this bum, or we go become fans of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, one pride.
Maybe if Myles Garrett goes to the Detroit Lions, then that's the play. I don't know.
No can do. I do think there's a lot of value in billionaires feeling embarrassment, and I just don't think that Haslam is gonna and the Crew's losing a bunch of their players. The Bucks are kind of a mess right now. I just don't think Haslam can endure. Okay, it's fine to say like this is a lame duck organization, and do you know by the time let's say the Browns win like 4 games next year because they get whatever quarterback. By the time they have gone,
Hugh Jackson thinks that's a lot of games.
Yeah. By the time they've gone 3-17,
tank for Arch.
3-17, 3-14,
I'm making a
and
sign.
4 and 13. By the time that happens, there are going to be so many hit pieces, so many articles, so much criticism, so much scrutiny, so many canceled season tickets. I just don't think. I think eventually Haslam will cave and at least hire somebody else. At least give somebody else a chance. This is all very frustrating.
I know we're going off on a tangent, but I do want to respond to this whole idea that the Browns front office is just incapable of getting it done. Now, first, I want to say this is important, that I think even if the owner was sitting here saying, man, we really need to do it differently, we need to bring in a new group of warriors to change the way we do things. I don't know that last year was the year to do it, because, I mean, you have to understand the Deshaun Watson trade was so bad. This team is so far away from being the Jets right now, getting out of that contract, that you're not going to get anyone to come here. So I almost feel like one of the reasons we might have just stayed put was apathy. Like we have to hold down the fort until we climb out of this hole, so that we can just be like the shitty Cleveland Browns that people usually know us as. I could write a check big enough maybe at that point to get someone viable. However, I agree that possibility exists, but then here's the bigger issue. I'm not sure that Andrew Berry is as bad as everyone thinks. We're so pissed off because, at the end of the day, his bullshit caused the best player in football that's not a quarterback to want to leave us, and obviously that's something.
Yeah, but he's old.
He could do that causes outrage amongst the NFL, makes us look bad. Nick covered this very well. I don't think we all give Kevin Stefanski a pass, because at the end of the day, the Browns kind of took the offense that was somewhat working and just tore it up to give Deshaun Watson a chance to get back to doing what he did best when he was with Houston, right? It didn't work. It was a horrible, horrible mistake, and it set us back a lot. It pissed off players like Myles Garrett. I don't understand why Kevin gets a pass and why Andrew Berry is held to the fire. I mean, I understand he's the front office guy, but organizationally, the Browns said, we have to, as an organization, do everything we can to give Deshaun Watson the best chance. I don't think there's a chance in hell Andrew Berry would have kept our left tackle, if not for the fact that we have to have a proven veteran, and he's done a decent job. Who am I thinking of? Who's our shitty left tackle?
Wills.
Yeah, Jedrick
Wills.
I think the only reason they kept Jedrick Wills, for example, was because organizationally they said we have to give him enough time to throw the ball. So we can't just bring in a new, free agent that is an unknown commodity. He's good enough. Let's overpay him just to ensure Deshaun Watson has the best chance to win. I feel like everything the Browns did last year wasn't to maintain what the Browns were building. It was just to reset everything and say, we have to get Deshaun Watson to feel comfortable. If he feels comfortable and he turns out to be a decent football player, then everything will kind of fall into place. And we have a chance of getting out of this disaster. We know that didn't happen, but I fault every one of the motherfuckers that made the decision to sell everything to bet the farm on Sean Watson's going to be our quarterback. And it turned out they bet on the wrong horse. They're all as guilty as anyone. Andrew Berry, to me, has made a lot of great decisions throughout his tenure and some bad ones. But I just can't put all the blame because I don't have confidence that it was Andrew Berry's call alone to give him this deal. I think the Browns got into a room and said, we're so desperate for a quarterback. Here are our options. There weren't many good ones. And they just said, fuck it. Let's just sell the farm out because we believe we have a team so talented that we could bring a Super Bowl to Cleveland. Let's give them the money and pray it works. It did not work. So I don't know what I'm exactly saying, Nick, but I just think it's a little unfair to say Andrew Berry is terrible and Kevin maybe gets another chance. And our owner, obviously we have to live with him. They might all have to go after this year.
Yeah.
I think we got to give them this year to see if they can get us out of this hole a little bit.
Yeah. Well, speaking of this year, I'll go to you, Nick. You'll start this one out, the second statements, because I want to speak to this year. And this is their second statement. The Browns can compete in 2025. And they don't just kind of piggy bank off what Andy was saying.
I feel like Doctor Strange and looking at all those possibilities. I do think there's a path. It's not many. Like if we were gambling, it would be quite a plus parlay. So there is a path though, right? Because I just watched Washington, and Andrew Berry referenced it. I just watched Washington go from the pits to the NFC Championship game, and so I will. You're getting me drunk, Ed, but I will chug.
All right.
I do think that it would require. To me, it would some people have said, well, the Browns went 3-14 with Myles Garrett. So does he really help their winning? And to me, I think they need a at least decent quarterback and Myles Garrett. I don't think let's say they because Joe Flacco wasn't lighting he was leading the league in passing, but he's also throwing the ball to the other team a lot. But I feel like the combination of the defense plus him was good enough to save the season and get them to the playoffs. Now, I understand he throws a bunch of picks in the playoffs, but at least they got there. At least they had a respectable season, an 11-win season. There's so much value in having a winning season, and nobody was asking out after they won 11 games, right? But after they win 3 games, suddenly Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward and this whole thing. So there is a path. It's narrow, but there is a path. Yeah.
There's a path. There's a path. Roger, do you think how big is that path? How wide is that path? Is there a path?
Were we still live?
We're still live. We're doing it live. We're doing it live.
All right. Competitive 2025. Come on. No. And they don't plan on being competitive 2025. They have that's what Myles Garrett, that's why he's leaving. Because you know what? The only path would be if they drafted Sanders' kid at 2 and he is Jaden Daniels for 1 year. And watch, Washington's going to regress. Everybody's got film on him. Everybody had film on the Texas quarterback, the ex-Buckeye, when he blew it up as a freshman. Now, everybody in the NFC, what is that? NFC Central, right? With Philadelphia, New York Giants, everybody East. I'm sorry. Their job is to stop him, and they will. And then everybody will take that blueprint, and he'll have that sophomore year. And the Washington's going to regress a little bit. You know what? That's what happens. And everybody gets all gung ho because a rookie has this tremendous year and want to draft the next guy that's going to be him. And then they get introduced to the NFL where everybody's fast. Everybody is the best player on the field, instead of maybe 1 or 2 in college. No, they have no plan. They're tanking for Arch 2026. They have no plan of being competitive. They want to be as bad as they could possibly be. I'm chugging on being awful and finishing 1-15 or 1-16 because we were 0-16 and you couldn't be 1-16. And I want to hit that mark. I want to get in between. We were 0-16. I want to be 1-16, and that's what I'm chugging on and tanking for Arch.
If
Trade Myles Garrett, trade Denzel Ward. JLK ain't playing another down of football the rest of his life. Delpit, trade him. Hey, the only thing Sashi Brown had to work with was a punter. The only thing he had to trade of any value
Andy
was
Lee,
a
right?
fucking
Was
punter.
it Andy Lee?
Right? So now Andrew Berry got a whole stockpile of shit to trade. Trade it all. Tanking, chugging, go Browns. Super Bowl.
I'll tell you
Browns.
this. I'll tell you this. If the sports books put out odds of teams to get the number one overall
I'm making
pick,
a clip of that.
Whatever it was, I'd take the Browns. I'd take the Browns today. I'd take the Browns tomorrow. Their goal for 2025, let's not mince words, is to get the number one overall pick and hope to God that Jimmy Haslam doesn't fire them. That's their goal. That's the plan. There is no, because obviously with the meeting
brother Karns.
with Myles Garrett that went poorly, they told him that they weren't going to compete. And Myles is like, I'm not going to be 30 on this fucking team and hope that some quarterback comes in here and is decent. I don't have that time. And I respect that. Myles. I get it, right? Because you're basing your whole rest of your prime, 29, 30, 31, on some quarterback coming in here next year, not even this year, on being Jaden Daniels. And that is a very small outcome. And he knows that, right? And so why would he want to be here? And so I get that. I just think the way he went about it is shitty, but that doesn't matter. They're getting the number one overall pick in 2026. And the debate is going to be if whoever's family is going to let them come here. That's going to be the whole debate. They're getting the number one pick.
You're going to have a new president of operations, and his last name's going to start with an M. And the quarterback's going to start with an M. We're going to have and they're going to go into the big giant building, and Andy's going to take me to a game there.
Yeah.
And I can't afford it.
We'll be tailgating with $15 beers at Brown's sanctioned things.
I'll buy them. I can afford one beer and parking. I'll help park
the new Huntington Bank Field Dome.
Announcer boy said.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna chug on. I want to drink. I want to drink the Ohio State National Champions Coca-Cola. I want to chug from that.
Good for you, Ed.
I do think it's a narrow path, but here's what I want to say. I want to take my time and allotment here to say this. For all the people out there, and especially in Berea, that want to tank and get the number one pick because you think Arch Manning is so great. Well, if he was so great, why didn't he beat out Quinn Ewers? I mean, that's a fair question. I mean, it's Texas University. If Arch Manning was so great, shouldn't he have been leading the Texas Longhorns to beat the Ohio State Buckeyes and onto a national championship? But no, he was sitting the bench and only playing one play, which, he did get a first down against the Buckeyes. Good for you, Arch. But that ain't going to get it done in the NFL. And if you are looking at the net quarterbacks of Drew Aller, Arch Manning, here's the thing. There's a guy. His name is Shedeur Sanders. He's very accurate with the football. Like
I'll tell you why, Ed.
He stays in the pocket. He would be perfect under Kevin Stefanski. And he kind of reminds me of something like what Jaden Daniels could do in Washington. Here's the thing. Take Shedeur at number 2. And guess what, guys? If he sucks, if he blows, we're picking high again next year. You got to get the fucking quarterback. I am so sick of get Abdul Carter. Well, we've had Myles Garrett, generational. Abdul Carter will never be as good as Myles Garrett. Never be as good as Myles Garrett. And even if he is as good as Myles Garrett, he's still only going to be a 3-win guy on a team like the Cleveland Browns. I'm sorry, but it doesn't matter until you get the quarterback. Keep drafting quarterbacks until you get it. And stop saying that Arch Manning, Drew Aller, or these 2026 quarterbacks are going to be it. I know Shedeur Sanders is pretty good. He's ranked as the top 2, him and Cam Ward, and you're picking in the top 2. Stop fucking around and just take the fucking quarterback. Quit being scared. And guess what? If he sucks and you do take Arch Manning, you're probably going to have a new general manager to point of Roger, and his last name's probably going to start with an M. So just get the quarterback. Everything else doesn't matter until you do. And I'm chugging again. Go, Andy, because I'm tired of
that Coca-Cola's getting to you. Slow down.
He's
Slow
so
down
excited
on
to
the
flip that. and
slow
flip it
down on the
internet.
Coca-Cola, Ed.
Wow. All right. We're getting a little off topic here. I'm going to
the caffeine.
Can we compete next year? Listen, this year, when I remember watching that Commanders game this previous season, I think not Myles. Oh my gosh, Deshaun Watson had like a decent game the week before. Like he saw the field pretty well. The offense was kind of moving. It was probably his best game of the year. And then we got to the Commanders game, and it was just the biggest pile of shit. And I remember I was so broken that I drove to the casino and I just gambled for 10 hours.
Good for you.
That's the only thing I could do. But the reason I was so upset wasn't just because, like, okay, this year is done. It was because I knew, like, wholeheartedly, this isn't just about this season. Like, the Browns completely fucked everything up, and now we are in a crater for the next couple of years, at least. So I'm going to do the same thing I would have done on that day. No, we are not going to be competitive this upcoming season. I'm sorry. Does that mean I have to spit? The Browns can
I'm excited.
They're not going to be competitive, but what I will say is I think they're going to be more fun. There's going to be a part of you that gets to watch the game and watch some young guys develop and get maybe incrementally better. And I feel like next year we're going to be on the Dawg Chug talking about the Browns in a positive light. Even though we're probably going to have a shitty record, we're not going to be competitive because being competitive means we're like trying to win the AFC North. We're not going to win the AFC North next year. We're probably not going to win the AFC North in 2026. But at least it'll be better than the shit show it's been for this past year, and then outside of the playoff here. So I spit on that, and there you go, Ed.
I'm chugging on your spit.
I'll chug on it.
That's the first ever on Dawg Chug. I'm chugging on your spit, Andy.
It sounds really gross. It sounds like something
we advise anybody out there, please don't chug anybody else's spit if you're out there.
Because you're right, man. You know,
D Haslam loves chugging men's spit.
She does.
She's also nuts.
It gets no. Nick says stop.
I can't contain you guys. You gentlemen are off the hook tonight. I don't even know if we should go to the third statement because it's going to just go a complete 180. But I'm going to throw this out there. Is there any adults in the room tonight? We're going to find out if we can handle this. I'm going to start with you, Roger. We'll start with this one. Jeez. The Cavs cannot beat Boston. Can we handle this?
We covered this last week. Whose turn?
It's yours.
Your turn. Your turn, Roger.
You know what? You didn't give no rules, so I'm sipping.
Yeah.
There are no rules tonight. Nick Karns distracted everything. You didn't lay down. You forgot all about it. I'm sipping on it because I said last week, do we have anybody that can guard Tatum? We watched last night, and the Cavs fell down. They battled back, but you know what? The third quarter of an NBA game on February 4th is a really long quarter. And there's a guy here that sat through it and that's going to tell you about it. And Boston kind of got a little lackadaisical, and the Cavs battled back and climbed back in. I think you got within 6. And that's when I was like, they can't win this game. And then they fell back down. I said last week is it that the only thing stopping the Boston Celtics from winning an NBA championship is the Cavaliers, or is the only thing in the way of the Cavaliers is the Celtics. You know what I mean? And right now, which is it? We don't have a guy that can guard Jason Tatum. It, we can't beat Boston in a 7-game series. I'm sorry. Not the way this team sits right now. When's the deadline? Tomorrow at 5 p.m. or something, or 4 p.m. or whatever? Tomorrow's the deadline, right? Am I correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So what are they going to do? I mean, you know what? No, we can't beat Boston. No.
Okay.
So I sipped and I'm spitting on it on top of that.
Ooh.
So there you go.
I am going to, only because I want, like I said, national champions Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm going to chug on that.
Wow.
I do think we can beat them. In a 7-game series, we could win 2 or 3 games. But I just think Boston, they have our number. And, and watching, the game last night. And I remember a game earlier in the season when I was taking my son to a basketball game. And then we were watching it on our phones in a Taco Bell parking lot. And, they climb back, but they always get down. They got down in that game. They made a comeback. They lost like 120 to 117 earlier. And then we saw what happened. They don't start out fast against Boston. And it seems that they're always an uphill climb. And then it's hard to do that uphill climb when you're just undersized when it comes to Mitchell and Garland, especially, that's a tall task, no pun intended. But until they can show that they can beat Boston, and I mean thump them pretty good. This was a home game on national TV. We should have beat them by like 10 to 15 points, and send a message. And that message wasn't sent, and obviously we got punched in the face. So until we do it, I mean, shout out to Manny Maxwell and his Boston Celtics. They got the job done, and I'm not saying we cannot get it done in the future, but right now we can't, and that's just a fact. And maybe that's a motivating factor come playoff time. And also another thing too, you get into a series with a team like Orlando that we did last year. Don't just think it's going to be Boston and Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Finals. Mm-hmm. Whoever we play that second round series, if we get a team that, look at Atlanta, caused us trouble this year. Teams that are long and lengthy, they just cause us trouble. And to think that we're just going to waltz on through the Eastern Conference Finals with a destination with Boston, they got another thing coming. I like what we're doing in the regular season. I like what they got going on. It's a fun season. I'm not trying to dispel that, but at the same time, when it comes down to the second season, playoff season, and you got the 7-game series, I don't know. Andy.
Yeah, so first of all, I bet against the Cavs last night.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
I've been betting against Cavs ever since they beat the Thunder. So my goal is to do that till the All-Star break, because I feel like these are the dog days of basketball season. So I'm not too concerned that we got whooped yesterday. It was there. It was disappointing. Also had a lot of fun. Point I want to make, though, is the Cavs have really taken that next step in proving that they're an elite team. They belong in the conversation. I think they're going to stay that way for the next couple of years. I have a lot of faith in these guys. However, they still haven't proven that they could win against 7-game series against another elite team. And I think that is a really, really, that's like the ultimate gear to take. And I'm not convinced they can do that at this point. I can't wait to watch the Eastern Conference Finals, where I think they'll most likely match up. At this point, I'm very hopeful, but if I have to answer this question, I'm going to chug on this. They have to prove they can beat Boston before I'm going to believe that they can. So I'm chugging, and go Cavs. And I can't wait to see them play in a 7-game series, because I think that's going to be the ultimate test for this team. And the lessons that they need to learn are going to come out of that test.
Baseball
They
season.
need to learn. So, salute.
Nick.
So I do think, and a little birdie told me that they are trying to be active. Their goal is to not stand pat. Now that doesn't guarantee anything, right? But I do think they're trying to be active. I do think they're trying to get DeAndre Hunter. I do think they're trying to shore up their weaknesses. So a lot to me is based on that, because as currently constructed now, the Cavs had some guys out, but as currently constructed, I don't feel like it's a good matchup against the Celtics. Maybe Evan Mobley can bridge that gap. He had a terrible game yesterday. I think he scored 30 today against the Pistons. He broke his 3-point miss streak. He hit a 3 for the first time in I think like 7 or 8 games, something like that. And so maybe Mobley can take that leap if they were to stand pat. But I do not believe they're going to stand pat. I do believe they're going to try to get DeAndre Hunter. And in that case, it would feel like at least a 50-50 shot to me, because I think the Cavs have a ton of talent. I think Cavs have good coaching, as do the Celtics, and obviously the Celtics are defending champions. So to me, I'm going to sip on it because I don't know, because they haven't made a move yet. So I'm going to sip. But I do think the Cavs are going to try, because they know how valuable it is that Donovan Mitchell chose to resign and extend. They know how valuable it is that they have Evan Mobley, and Darius Garland is clearly back to his pre-jaw broken form. So I think they are going to try to make a move, and I do think that they're good enough to at least, because as it stands, they're going to have home court through the playoffs. So I think they're good enough to at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals. That's half the battle. You're there, right? You're there. You have a shot. So I got to sip on it. I got to sip on it because I do think they have a shot, and I do think that they value Donovan signing back and value this window, and they're going to do everything they can to try and get length at that 3. Also, Dean Wade is underrated and wasn't in the game. I'm not saying he's some massive difference maker, but I think if you pair him with somebody like DeAndre Hunter, suddenly, if you're not asking Dean Wade to be like the starter, you have a couple options there that could work. So I'm going to say
Coach Harbaugh.
Yeah, I like that. Good answer, Nick. Good. We got one more statement, and it's up Roger's alley. I'm going to go ahead and start this one out because I'll be nice and quick with it to Roger's chagrin. The best news this week is the Trucks left for spring training in Arizona, and the Guardians have a game this month. Well, it's a game, but it doesn't really count. But I chug on that. Why not? Let's chug. Let's have some fun.
All right, I'm in.
Guardians, coming off a great season last year, great ALCS. I know it was 4-1, but those games were so fun. Looking back at it, at the time, we're obviously upset that they lost, but they ran out of pitching, and but the offseason a little bit disappointing. But if they get their young stars up, who knows? And if their pitching stays healthy, I think that's the number one goal. Their pitching stays healthy. They're going to be competitive. Now, I know there's a lot of baseball analysts like that Cy Louis, the guy that Roger fights with. I guess he put out something that, Major League Baseball people think the Guardians going to finish third in the division. Well, they always think we're going to finish third or last, and we end up winning 90-some games. So let them doubt us once again. Let the fun on the corner of Ontario and Carnegie happen. $13 standing room, get your beer, have some fun on a nice summer night. So I'm chugging on that, and let baseball season commence. We'll go. Let's reverse it. Roger, go, Roger.
Oh, you're gonna go to me, right?
Yeah, you're the baseball guy. You're the
baseball guy, Roger.
You know what? Every week I give you a statement and you never put them in because I'm horrible at it. And I tell you, because I've been saying since the beginning of Dawg Chug that I can't come up with statements. That's why, like, when Jacob does the Browns questions, like, I've never sent any in because I'm just bad at that. You know what I mean? Mine are just like so random. And so this week you put one in. And listen, man, let me tell you something. There's a lot of teams in baseball that like to have the idea of platooning Chase DeLauder and Big Christmas Noel out in right field. You're looking at a possible hitting 260, pulling in 110 RBIs and hitting 30 home runs. Because that's the ceiling. If you hit them righty lefty. I always said, and I go back, 2025, 2027 is we're chasing a pennant right now in Cleveland, man. We're chasing a pennant. You don't want to go out and spend money on a guy that might be, a veteran or our big bats might be in our system right now. You're going to see 4 guys platooning in the middle infield with Reyes playing second base and Rocchio playing shortstop. Those are going to be the primary infielders. Reyes hit 300 in fall ball. He hit 300 in winter ball. If he hits 300 in spring ball, he's going to be your second baseman. Rocchio's he locked up shortstop because of his he played in big games, man. He showed up in the big games. I'm so excited for baseball. We were out today. Jack was catching the bull. You know what? Here's a downside. My pitcher, my freshman that was going to pitch varsity baseball, he might have to. He's getting an MRI next week. He might have a slight tear in a tendon in his elbow. So we don't know. I don't want to jinx it. But he was out today helping the 10U ice travel team at practice today. He was out working out with the 10-year-olds and play, working with the pitchers, helping the young kids, and that's what we're doing here is baseball. I can't wait. I got my new Guardians hat on. I wore it for tonight's show because I don't care about the Cleveland Browns. I don't give a shit. The Cavs, when they win, if whatever they do in June, I'll be into baseball mode and I'll be like, hey, go Cavs. But I'm all about baseball and I can't wait. And thanks for putting me in finally in the specific chug. The first time one of my statements have made it in 4 seasons.
Well, don't get used to it. Don't get used to it.
Every week I try, Nick. Every week I put one in. I submit one, and they don't put it in. So finally, it's the first time I made it.
I'll tell you what, Roger. I hope Jack's okay. I've broken both ankles twice. The only one that sticks with me is the one that I broke when I was 27. So he's young enough that he can recover and not have to feel the shitty effects of that.
Can I go on a little rant? This happened in October, and it's the fucking the health system in this country. They're like, oh, we see a chip on the X-ray. Let's try physical therapy for 4 months. 4 months, the kid worked his ass off. As soon as he starts throwing hard, it hurts again. Oh, let's do an MRI. Why the fuck didn't you do an MRI in October and the kid would be playing baseball right now because he'd be coming, he'd be rehabbing because he worked his ass off all winter, man. He worked his ass off and his freshman season might be down the tubes because there's actual tear in the tendon and he's going to need surgery. So
I get it.
I'm ready to go nuts on the.
It sucks, but at least it happened when he's really young and he can still heal. Because I think everybody here can relate to the fact that it's like you hurt yourself now, and that shit ain't healing for a good bit.
No,
I had to get it in. That's the last time they'll put one of my statements in the Sisfit Chug.
So. You're working on that. You're working on that band, Roger. You're working on it.
Ed, what's the statement?
The best news this week is scrolling down the bottom. Basically, the spring training, they're in Arizona. Guardians are coming back. That's basically good news.
Okay.
Yeah, figured. These are softballs, or should I say baseballs?
I know better than to doubt this regime in Cleveland, which feels really weird to say as a Browns fan, but I know better. And I know they don't spend, and I understand that, but they're probably going to win a ton of regular season games. They're going to get in the playoffs, and they're going to give themselves a chance. I don't know what's going to happen once they get to the playoffs. I don't know. But
nobody knows.
But they're just so good at identifying talent and bringing guys up and just being consistent and having depth and having chemistry. You know what? I think about all those playoff games last year. They won, and then they were showing like the Guardians minor league teams, and they're all celebrating all their hits and all their stuff and that. And it's like you can really see camaraderie not only between the team, but between the levels of the teams. And I just think I just think that they have the type of culture that breeds winning. And so I think they'll be in the playoffs. I think I bet on them to win the division. I think it was plus 250, so it wasn't like super great, but I think they'll be in the playoffs. And I think
93 games.
In baseball, if you give yourself a chance, like I know the Dodgers are doing crazy things right now, and you know that baseball is weird like that. But at least if you get in the playoffs, you give yourself a chance. And that's all I'm asking for at this point. Just give yourself a chance. It's baseball, and let's see where it goes. So that's where I'm at.
Nice. Andy.
Well, this is my favorite time of the year.
Right.
I know it's just a sign that we're getting closer. I think we have 7 more weeks. 7 weeks tomorrow is the first game. And not only is it the baseball comes back, but it means we're in spring. And Cavs are close to the playoffs. We got the draft right on the corner. We finally have a first round pick. There is no better time of the year as a Cleveland fan than like when the Guardians / Indians come back to baseball season. So I can't wait. The 7 weeks are like what I'm trying to, to tough through. But when we get there, it's everything is just downhill from there. It's so wonderful. It's the best time of Clevelanders year. So I'm chugging on this. In 7 weeks, let's go. We're almost there.
I think we all chug. We all chug. That's the rule. We all agree. We all chug.
I'm in.
You got to chug rule.
And that will conclude a rousing edition of Spit, Sip, Chug.
I opened a 5th beer for that last one.
Good for you. I just want to thank all of you because I've really been down in the dumps about the Browns.
See, come on here. It's like therapy. You have
Did
fun.
we help a little?
And I need to. Okay. I need you guys to hear me out because I try to be an open-minded individual, and the thing I keep running into online is that if you have an opinion, it's never allowed to change. Like if you put something out there, and you are provided with overwhelming evidence that you are wrong, even if you're wrong, you should dig in deeper rather than just acknowledge the fact that you're wrong, you were dumb, you can admit it, and say, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Nick, I'm so glad you brought this up. You're gonna. This is gonna lead into our segment, and then we're gonna get back into it. But I'm glad. I have to stop you here because you are going to go under the hottest new segment in all of Cleveland sports podcasting. Nick, are you ready to go under rapid fire?
I'm in.
All right. Here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna say a question. You have three seconds to answer yes or no. Just a yes or no answer will do. Nothing else. And then until we get to the final question, and you'll know when I get there. Are you ready, sir?
Yes, sir.
Glad the Brown season is over.
Yeah.
Brown should have fired Stefanski.
No.
Brown should have fired Barry.
Yes.
Browns need to draft a quarterback at 2.
Yes.
Brown should give in and trade Myles Garrett.
Yes.
The Browns are far away from contending for a Super Bowl.
Yes.
Retool or rebuild?
Rebuild.
Shador Sanders is the guy.
Yes.
Abdul Carter is for Browns fans too scared to draft a quarterback.
Yes.
Brown should draft Judkins or Henderson from the Ohio State.
Yes.
Will Howard in the 4th if still available.
No.
Roberto Shenanigans spends too much time trolling you.
Yes.
The off-the-clock folks should stop dick riding Deshaun Watson.
Yes.
Andy should not renew his Brown season tickets.
Yes.
And finally, on a scale of 1 to 100, how much does Ed in Columbus make Columbus great again?
On a scale of 1 to 100?
Yes.
Wow. I'll give you an 86.
I almost love you, Nick, and you are off rapid fire. Nick, give me 100, baby. Give me 100. Just lie to me.
I think 86 is generous.
Oh, jeez. All right. Now let's go back to what you're saying because I like that's what kind of brought up the. Yeah.
I just want to say this. It's Andy. Andy, I respect why you're a season ticket holder, and I respect the commitment that you have. But I made this pledge. That if Myles Garrett's traded, I'm not going to a Browns game until Andrew Berry's fired. I'm not going. I won't do it. They're not getting a dime of my money, a nickel even of my money. I won't do it because that dude
invites you to a game. Are you gonna?
You know what? You know what?
I'll go to the meeting lot. No, I'm not. Listen. No. Hear me out. Because people call me two-faced and fake, right? People, I don't know. That's apparently what I am now. I'm not going.
No,
I'll come to the meeting lot, Andy. I'll watch you out chug anybody. I am not going. I'm not going.
You know what?
I won't go.
That you're not going to spend money. You're not going to actually go to a game.
I
want to be clear.
This is my difference. Is like the last thing I bought Browns was like Joe Flacco shirt from Acme for $5. But there's a lot of times where like Andy's invited me to something that like I couldn't go to for whatever reason, my boy, whatever reason that like I support guys like Andy and people like Andy, because at one time I paid for a PSL in 1999. Because without just as 5 beers into the Hazy Bros from Market Garden that we're going to try to get free beer from, because we got Nick Karns on the show tonight. We're pimping Nick fucking Karns. Not only that, but because there's people that like invest a lot of time and money into the Cleveland Browns, man, and that deserve better, than a guy like me that's fortunate enough to might get an invite to. I couldn't take my sons to a game at the fucking rat hole they got on Lake Erie on the fucking wharfs, let alone to the palace he's going to build in Brook Park, And he needs those people, man. And the fans with Myles Garrett going on Radio Row with Andrew Barry saying, Myles Garrett's gonna go from Cleveland to Canton. You know what I mean? And lying to us like we're children. And that's how I feel. Like the Cleveland Browns organization treats us like petulant children that they have to pacify and lie to. And I'm just along for the ride. I'm a bystander. I don't live in fucking Cuyahoga County. I don't pump money into it like
I don't know. Can I ask you all this? I want to ask you all this, a pointed question right now. Deshaun Watson doesn't tear his Achilles. Okay. How many more weeks does Kevin Stefanski go on those press conferences and say Deshaun Watson gives us the best chance to win? How many more? Because I'll tell you this, I reached my breaking point. Beyond my breaking point, I encouraged booing, not injuries, booing, okay? Because they were lying to us, and we all knew they were lying to us. Anybody who watched Joe Flacco the previous year knew they were lying to us. If Deshaun Watson doesn't give the Browns that out, right, tearing his Achilles and being out, how much longer does Kevin go up there? What do they got to do? They got to be like what were they at that point? 1-8, right? How much longer? It's just insulting. It's insulting. So I need to know. I need to know how long they were going to keep up that charade.
Unfortunately, we don't. None of us have.
Okay.
But I will say, I'm convinced it would have been probably that game, but maybe the next one, because they had to know they had too much invested, and he injured himself, and I think everyone inside that organization celebrated when that happened because it was like, oh, thank God.
Andy, I love going to Browns games with you. I love going to Browns games with you. I think I have to just be good to my word, man. I'll come to Muni Lot with you. No, I'll drink my ass off. Nick,
I'd rather be a Muni Lot with Andy. I've never been inside the Brown Stadium with Andy. I've had so much fun at a Muni Lot with him and all of us. You know what it is? And that's the thing. It's not the Browns. It's when a group of fans that love the Browns get together in their group.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not the fucking Browns. It's about And all of that's going to be gone.
I stand here, Roger. I stand here. Myles Garrett is the best player of my lifetime to put on a Cleveland Browns uniform. I know. You're older than me. Everybody here has
hey,
roughly.
Let's not age discriminate here.
Okay.
The bottom line is you're saying you.
No, I want to
Myles Garrett.
I thought it was Phil Dawson. I thought Phil Dawson was number one.
Okay, Myles Garrett's the best player I've ever seen in a Browns uniform. If they trade him away, I am not going until the dude who traded him away is not employed. That's it. That's it.
Hold on. That I have an interesting question to ask on that.
Please ask.
Roger, just calm down.
I'm kidding. Of course.
Question I have to ask you.
Joking.
Roger,
okay.
I love you.
Go ahead.
The question I have to ask you is, okay, if your star player wants out and he's going on Radio Row, he's doing all these things, I understand. We could people in the comments have said, I'm going to send him to the Jags. I'm going to spite him. I'm going to do something awful to him, even though I get less in return, just to shove it up his ass, so to speak. Obviously, I don't want the general manager of the Cleveland Browns to be making moves out of spite. I want them to make the move that gets the Browns to be the best they could possibly be. I don't know what that is.
Yes.
My question to you, Nick, is...
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Roger. Do the Browns do they honor the fact that he wants out and take the, let's say we get 3 first-round draft picks from like a good team and maybe something else too. I don't know. Do we honor and allow that to happen? Or do we say, you know what, dude, you're under contract. You have no power here. Fuck you. You're coming back to the Browns this year. If you want to be an asshole about it, you're going to sink your value. So put up or shut up. What, like if you were, let's say you could fire Andrew Berry and Nick Karns suddenly is allowed to decide what to do with this whole Myles Garrett situation. What would you choose? And even after you talk to him, he doesn't want to be here. What would you do?
I'm looking at the Browns objectively. And objectively, I'm saying that the core of talent has gotten old and they are not ready to compete right now. That's where I'm at. So I am acquiescing to his trade request, and I'm getting as many picks and assets as I can possibly get because I think the long-term future of the Browns is better if you get those assets than if you just play hardball with Myles. Because as it sits, like it would be different. It's like different if, like, remember when Chris Jones sits out the home opener of 2023 against the Lions, the Chiefs lose, and the Chiefs are like, well, shit, we're in a Super Bowl window. We need Chris Jones. We're going to cave and we're going to trade, or we're going to pay him. The Browns are in a very different situation. They still are more incentivized.
Right. We don't have Patrick Mahomes.
They're not ready to win right now. They're not ready to win right now.
We don't have Patrick
Mahomes. It's a money issue either.
Right.
So
you're saying that the right move is in this situation to trade Myles.
Yeah.
So my question is, if our general manager says, you know what,
still alive?
Myles Garrett, yes. If our general manager says fuck Myles Garrett, I'm going to hold on to him. And I don't care if he outs and poisons the locker room next year. You're saying you're going to then go to Browns games this upcoming season?
My glasses.
Or would that be worse? Would that just be more evidence that our general manager is over his head? In over his head.
While I think the best path forward is probably trading him, I've learned the lesson from Joe Thomas. I wanted to say this earlier in the show. I've learned the lesson from Joe Thomas. There is a certain value to a guy who plays his whole career in your city and is yours exclusively. And I think that's special. And remember, I did chug on there is a path to competing. Myles Garrett is a pillar of the path to competing. So at least if Myles stays, if they announce tomorrow that Myles Garrett has agreed to a 4-year whatever extension, at least I can say to myself, if the Browns just get a quarterback, because I watched them go to the playoffs with Joe Flacco and Myles Garrett on the team, if they just get a quarterback who's decent, I could talk myself into that. I could say, hey, they at least have a chance. There's a chance here, right? But without Myles, even if they get the quarterback, I don't know that there's a chance. So to me, if they extend Myles, that's the best case scenario because I just have such little belief. Like Myles Garrett's number one, Myles Garrett's don't fall off trees. Number two, getting that pick and being able to select a guy like that is excessively rare because most of the time when you're at the top of the draft like that, you need a quarterback, right? So the Browns need a quarterback right now. So even if they're at the top of the draft, like Ed said, the quarterback supersedes everything else. So they're like, I get it. Abdul Carter, he's sexy, he's fun, whatever. You're not going to win any games if you don't have a quarterback. You just won't. So to me, the best case scenario in all of this is keeping Myles Garrett and drafting a quarterback at 2 and giving it your best shot. Give it your best shot because you still have Denzel Ward, who was really good last year. You still have Myles Garrett. You got Obo. You've got you like there are some pieces here that you could take if we just got reasonable quarterback play. We could at least be competitive. I'm not saying a Super Bowl contender, but at least
you could sneak into the playoffs. You could sneak in.
It feels like we're back in 2021, but it feels like we're back in 2020. Oh, man.
Well, that's my goal. Be competitive.
Nick, I'm going to tell you what.
In the hunt, Nick. In the hunt.
It feels like you're holding on to like a girlfriend that is like listening to like different music now. And like ain't into what you're into no more, and you're trying to hang on, and she's just like, "No,
I want to hang on. I want to hang on. I want to bring Nick Chubb back.
No more.
I want to bring Nick Chubb back. I want to re-sign Myles Garrett. I want to at least give it a go.
No, cut the cord,
Nick.
Hang on, Sloopy.
Hang on, Sloopy.
Oh my God, we're losing control.
Trade him to the Panthers.
Nick, I just want to say I know I'm considerably older than you and more experienced. I've been through more shitty Brown seasons than maybe you've been through. But I will say, while I agree with what you're saying, drafting the wrong quarterback isn't the right way to go. And I am not convinced either of these two guys are going to be the savior that you think they are. Maybe they will, and maybe I'm wrong. I was wrong on Josh Allen. I thought he was going to be a bust. I think Josh Allen got to a good organization, and I bet if the Browns had drafted Josh Allen, he would have had nobody would know who Josh Allen is these days. However, I'm trying to say is I think that we'll see what they do, and I hope they love one of these guys and they draft him and they're the shit. But right now, I would say take the Penn State defensive guy because. Sure. I think he is the best player.
You do Myles Garrett.
If you're gonna rebuild, trade down.
Right.
Trade down.
What?
Get assets. Get. I want 4 first-round picks in 2026. That's what I want. If you're gonna rebuild, lean into it 100%.
Like Washington.
100%.
That's how you do it. Right. That's how you do it.
Listen, here's why I would say take the Penn State guy because I think he's the best player in this draft. And when the Browns got Myles Garrett, they didn't fuck around. They took the best player.
How's that worked out for us? How's that worked out?
Well, I'll tell you what, it would have worked out a lot worse.
Not the best player in this draft, though.
If they took the quarterback, what was the quarterback's name? That was
Mitch Trubisky.
Trubisky. If they'd taken Trubisky because we always take the quarterback.
I know, but
I guarantee it would have been a lot worse.
You got to get the quarterback. Say Shedeur Sanders is not the guy. Take him next year.
All right, so Ed, let's say Mitch Trubisky is this generation's Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
you'd still take him?
It would have sucked, and you would have taken a quarterback the next year. Just keep taking him until you get it right.
I just Andy. All right, Andy. Let's say
we're not playing darts, Ed. We're actually trying to evaluate.
If Kevin Stefanski is a good quarterback coach and supposed to be so great, and Kevin Stefanski is this coach of the year, he should be able to take these quarterbacks that are ranked. It's not Shedeur Sanders is crap. Shedeur is ranked second quarterback.
The only way you take Sanders if he had his dad's athletic ability and
you
speed.
Guys in Cleveland are so afraid to take a quarterback.
If we don't have an arm,
if they believe he's the guy, then go ahead and take him.
He's a bum. If you draft him number 2, you're going to be right back at number 1.
All right, hold on.
An arch next year.
I need to be heard right now. And
it's ridiculous.
Your logic
he's
is
a bum.
Your logic is just take.
He's not even Deion Sanders.
Take the quarterback because you have to take the quarterback.
Because you're picking number 2. You're not always going to be picking number 2.
I understand that. You don't just blindly just say, "Oh, there's the best quarterback. Let's take him." That's how we got Brandon Weeden. That's how we got so many.
22. He was the third best quarterback.
Let me advance this conversation.
Hey,
here's where I'm at. I agree with you, Andy, that conventional wisdom says take the surefire defensive end over the questionable quarterback. Okay.
I'm not saying that, by the way.
Okay, maybe he's not surefire, but let's say there's an 80% chance Abdul Carter's a stud and there's a 50% chance Shedeur Sanders is a stud.
Then
I get what you're saying.
If that was the case, then you take the quarterback. That's so easy. I'm saying if you think there's a 5% chance Sanders is the quarterback.
Fine. But here, the caveat here is that this regime is in, what are they going in, year 6? They can't lose this year, Andy. They have to do the highest.
Oh my God!
The highest upside swing possible.
Right. Then fire everybody right now. I don't want them just to be desperately.
They can't, Andy.
I understand. That's fine. But I'm not going to support that type of bullshit. Like, if they're so insecure, they're just going to take the only player with upside, then fire them all now.
Andy, here's where I'm at. Hold on.
I'm going to tell you what, Nick. This is your line of thinking is why the Cleveland Browns are continuously in the mess that we're in. Because it's never about the best option. It's about we got to save our jobs. We got to do what we got to. Like,
I know
we're desperate. Don't make desperate moves. That's how we got Deshaun Watson. I don't want to make desperate moves anymore. You're trying to tell me that's the way to go, and I'm telling you.
I think so I just want to play this timeline out for the Cleveland Browns and the regime right now. Here's, in my view, this is what happened. They went 3-14. They fired Ken Dorsey. They said, we still believe in our process. We're going to run it back. Jimmy Haslam buys in to running it back because they've won 11 games twice. Okay. They're just going to run it back. They're a new offensive coordinator. Now, Myles Garrett throws a monkey wrench into that because he's not ready to deal with this multi-year whatever.
Rebuild.
Okay. So the problem is Jimmy Haslam bought into the regime saying, we believe in our process. We're going to run it back. Now, about 2 months before the draft, when they've already done all their scouting, okay, or when they're in the process of their scouting, Myles Garrett requests this trade, and subsequently Denzel Ward says, if Myles Garrett's out of here, I'm out of here. Now, you're Jimmy Haslam. What do you do? Because you can't bring a whole new regime in 2 months before the draft, and you're also but you were bought in on running back this process, and Myles Garrett said, fuck no, we're not doing that. Okay? So now you're in between a rock and a hard place. And that is where the regime is right now, in my view. Is Jimmy Haslam bought into them saying, our process is good and we'll be fine. And Myles Garrett said, we're not doing that. And now they don't know what to do. Because reasonably, any team with the highest paid roster in football that goes 3-14 should be fired. He didn't fire them. Now their best player is requesting a trade. And now they have no good options of how to proceed. That's where they're at right now, in my view.
Nick, you're the GM of the Browns. Who are you drafting right now if you had a draft?
I'm taking a quarterback. I don't
taking
care.
Sand-
I'm
I'm
taking
taking-
a
yeah,
quarterback.
okay.
It's my
You
only
take-
chance.
Yep.
That taking a quarterback is the only chance to get out of this.
Yep.
It is the only chance, regardless if it's the 1%. It
Getting
is the
out of it.
only chance. It's the only chance. Otherwise, you're
think
you're
Shedeur
3 and
Sanders is
whatever,
pretty
and you're
good.
getting fired.
You
That's
think
it.
Shedeur Sanders is good? I think he's good.
Yeah,
Shedeur
I do
Sanders
think
is
he's
good.
good. But
I do.
it doesn't matter if I think he's good. It's the only chance to be good.
I think he's
only
good.
chance.
I think it's both. I think it's the only chance, and he's good.
Unless you buy into the Kirk Cousins elbow injury,
No,
whatever.
I don't buy that.
Right?
He's just
you're
old and
base your whole
broken.
job on that.
No.
Shadeur's the only chance,
Yep.
or unless it's Cam Ward, whatever. One of those quarterbacks is the only shot you have. Like Andy posted that post of Doctor Strange looking at all the possibilities and all the paths. There's one path, and the path is you hit on a quarterback that people didn't think you would, like Denver did with Bo Nix, who was universally mocked. I don't care. They were a playoff team. That saves jobs. Yep. That if the Cleveland Browns are a playoff team in 2025, I don't care if they get blown out in the worst outcome possible. They're saving their jobs because they were a playoff team, and
teams would take Shedeur over Bo Nix, right?
What?
You would take Shedeur over Bo Nix if they were coming out, wouldn't you?
I would like to think so.
Yeah. Okay. So why would you just not take Shedeur?
I'm not saying it's not
Are
close.
we still live?
Yeah.
I think Andy hates that we agree right now, Nick. I think Andy.
No, listen.
I forgot. I've been on that.
You're basically drafting like you're basically drafting Baker Mayfield again. And I love Baker.
I've been in a thread for 15 minutes on X. Why? Whatever you guys are talking about. I'm sorry.
He's an accurate thrower who takes too many sacks and
he stays in the pocket.
He can't throw very, very,
I
very
was in
far.
the spaces.
There's a lot of good teams that have just good quarterbacks.
He plays.
The Detroit Lions are a great example.
He plays in a suspect division.
Oh,
he's very high on himself. He's got a dad that's
okay. Let's play. Hey, hold on, Andy. Let's play that game for a second. Number one, the Pittsburgh Steelers don't have a quarterback. I don't care how many games they win in the regular season. They don't have a quarterback. They're beatable. Number two, the Trey Hendrickson just said if he doesn't get a new contract, he is going to ask for a trade. They can't pay T. Higgins, and they maybe can pay Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. The Bengals are vulnerable. That's my point. Is the division really that unwinnable? Is it really that unwinnable?
Yes.
I mean,
because the Browns are going to trade their best player and then other
the best player that got him 3 wins this year. Sorry, that's the truth.
So we're gonna go backwards. Is the point?
We're gonna win 2 or 1 game or 0. Yeah. I mean, what is it gonna be?
The AFC North might be a little bit more winnable, but I don't think the Browns are going to be in a position to win. You're failing to understand how much betting on the wrong horse created this team, in my opinion. And hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully they come out like gangbusters. I mean, there are teams that like just find the right combination of players and like come out of nowhere. And I'm not saying they can't aim for the Browns, but I'm saying to like expect or to even believe that that's, like we're talking about like a 5% chance, in my opinion. The Browns are going to take their lumps. We're going to have to climb out of this hole for at least this year and maybe next.
How many games do the Browns win next year? Say Myles Garrett stays on the team, you draft Shedeur Sanders, and Shedeur Sanders plays 95% of what Jaden Daniels did.
We're 7-10, maybe. Like
you put Jaden Daniels on the Browns and with his year this year with Myles Garrett.
All right, if you had Jaden Daniels, then I think this could be a team that is a wild card team.
They could be 10-7. Could they not be 10-7?
I think with Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski's system, I think it works. I just think
we'll find out. I mean,
they did make it right. They did make it work with ancient Joe Flacco.
Exactly. Anyway. PJ Walker won a game, for God's sake.
All right, we're getting very late in the show. Roger's back. Nick, it's the Super Bowl. We're like 3 days away from the Super Bowl. It's going to be amazing 4 days. Nick, you wanted to talk about what some of your best bets for the Super Bowl was, and I want to hear this because I think I'm going to place the bets, and then I'm going to yell at you when they don't hit.
Okay, all right. So the lowest odds and in my most consistent bet all year is Fanatics. Fanatics allows a special that's normally minus 110. All right, we're starting little. Minus 110 is both teams to score 7+ points in each half. Okay. The last time these two teams met, it was 38-35. If I'm not mistaken, I have been making cheddar cheese off of minus 110, both teams to score 7 points in each half all year long.
Points.
Yeah.
Wow.
7 points.
That's easy. Yeah.
It's on Fanatics. Fanatics.
Now, what's the over/under on the game, on the big game?
That is not something I know. I'm not a big over/under guy.
I'm looking at it right now, but I'm just saying the over/under is at 48.5. So 14 divided by. So you're actually saying if you think that's going to happen, you should just bet the over.
Yes. I would say that's fair.
Yeah.
Seven each. Okay, I'm
How
looking
much?
right
What
now.
were the odds you were getting on that special bet?
Minus 110.
So yeah, the over is a way better way to go because the over could smash, and then there's one quarter where one team gets a field goal.
No. No. You're not understanding though. It's both teams to score 7 points in each half.
A total of
28 points total.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you said both teams score 7, I thought that meant that each team has to score 7.
No. So,
Okay.
yeah. So that's probably my.
All right, I like that one.
I'm logging in right now.
I think that's
as we speak because I've got a variety of bets.
Now I've heard you say you think that the amazing running back from Philly. Do you believe he's going to be the MVP or you just
Saquon Barkley plus 275? So here's my thought. Jalen Hurts has been not the stellar passer. He's somewhere in the 200s, low 200s in general for his passing totals, and he could rush for some touchdowns, but in general, to me, the formula for the Eagles winning the Super Bowl is Saquon Barkley having a great game,
like the NFC Championship game when he had 3 touchdowns.
Right, correct. And if he does that, he's Super Bowl MVP to me. So that's plus 275, right? So we're not getting crazy with our odds. We're not getting.
But the Eagles have to win, though. The Eagles have to win.
Yes. The Eagles do have to win, right? So that, but I'll tell you. So I have 2 bets. One I hit last year, that is my favorite bet. But 2 total. So the number 1 bet and the bet that I hit last year that was plus 3,000, but this year is plus 2,000. Is any non-quarterback to throw a touchdown. Last year it was Juwan Jennings.
Yes.
And it was plus 3,000. And that was a juicy bet because teams always get sexy with these plays and these trick plays and that kind of thing. It happens, we saw the Philly special. It's happened there too. And so I love that bet. It's one of my favorite. But I found a bet this year that I really like. And it is, I have it. Okay. It is plus 1,200. So it's not as big of odds. It's any player to record a pass completion, reception, and rush attempt because both quarterbacks run, right? Yeah. We just saw Patrick Mahomes run a whole bunch in the AFC Championship game. And we obviously know about Jalen Hurts. We know both quarterbacks are going to complete a pass. So to me, that is, will either quarterback catch a pass plus 1,200?
Are they catching the Philly special, basically?
No, any pass. Any pass.
Well, I know, but I'm just thinking.
That's insane. You're betting plus 1,200 that one of the quarterbacks will catch a pass.
I'm betting plus 1,200.
Usually that play design is the Philly special design.
Those are my 3.
Wow.
Those are my 3.
All right. Can I give you 2 of mine?
Yes.
I think Kansas City is going to take Saquon Barkley, limit him out of the game. I think they're going to do a really good job preventing him from doing the damage that we've seen him do throughout these playoffs, which means if Philly wins this game, it's going to be Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I guess.
He's going to hit the over, and I think, he would be the MVP in that case.
Ooh.
So
you're saying, what's it, like 210.5 his over. You're saying his passing
Probably.
over, right? Yeah. And MVP? Parlaying that?
Well, I don't know if they'll allow you to parlay that, but if they did, that would be a wonderful bet to make.
I can tell you right now, Andy. I can tell you right now.
And any bets on Taylor Swift and Kelsey getting proposed, anything like that, or
Yeah.
What color do you think the Gatorade will be? I think it's gonna be
right.
Ooh.
Okay.
You know what? A bet that I always make money on is the anthem over under.
The 2 minutes. The 2 minutes. Yeah.
Always take the over. It always hits. It's great.
It's that last note they like to carry out.
They will not let you. They will not let you.
It did make sense. They would allow you to do that. But
yeah,
I would say if you want to be smart, you could put a little bit on A and a little bit on B, because if it happens, they'll both probably hit, and then you're a little protected. I still think Kansas City's going to win this game. Refs are going to ref.
agreed.
The true MVPs for Kansas City will be the refs again.
But if you do want to go with Philly, I think that's where the money goes. Anyway, Nick, dude, thank you so much for making the time coming on here. We're past midnight. It was 50 days.
2-hour dog.
It's only 11 o'clock in Central Time, though.
I miss you guys.
15 days until the tribe starts. Now it's 49. So we just advanced an entire day based on the word salads that we've thrown out there tonight.
I don't know if the audience is smarter because of it, but hey, we appreciate you.
I'm honored to be back with all of you. You put on a great show. I watch it every week, whether I catch up or I catch it live.
Wow.
It's great content. You know that. It's great content. You're all my friends, but that's regardless. The top 10, the spit sip chug. It's great. It's great stuff. So just thank you all for making it.
Will you ever speculate that D Nazi is a Nazi on the Barking Browns? Or
can't say I will do that.
I'm gonna bet the under on that.
You might want to bet the under on that one.
Nick, when am I coming back on the Barking Browns?
I'll talk to. So we didn't have a Barking Browns show this week. I will talk to Jacob, and I honestly would love to have all three of you on. I know that would be chaos, but it'd be a lot of fun.
Yes.
We've done a collaboration
like tonight.
Yes.
So
the three of us were on a very early episode of the Barking Browns.
I know. I would love to do that again, especially Let's have some fun. That's my favorite thing. With the state of the Browns, let's have some fun.
Nick, what we got to do is, because this is how it all started. Every year we just got to have the collab right around June or July or whenever seems appropriate, and that's when we got to have it and have because that's when it all started.
Sounds good to me. Hey, thank you to all of you, and shout out to Ross. Love you, Ross. Miss you, bud. But the thing the four of you have built and the three of you are doing now is awesome.
Speaking of Ross, we're going to have a big announcement this upcoming week. So everyone tune in next week to find out what that's about.
Hell yeah.
I just want to do a special shout out to Force of Nature, Candy Corn Guy, Steve. You guys were awesome in the comments today. We so appreciate it. And Steve, thanks for having my back and saying Roger's wrong. I appreciate that. Nick, again, thanks for coming on. I know this has been an emotional week, and that's why it's so awesome to have you on. When the emotions are high and it's raw and real. I think we had some really good conversations on here today. I really enjoyed. This is like therapy. I feel it is. And I feel better. I still think you're wrong about the Sanders thing, but we'll find out. Maybe they'll take.
He's not wrong. You're not wrong.
I was wrong about Josh Allen, right? So maybe I'm wrong about this punk too. Anyway, I just want to say Michigan did cheat. Thank you for that, Candy Corn Guy. Ed, amazing job today, rocking it. Thanks for bamboozling me and Roger. That was fun. Roger, I'm sorry I kicked your ass in the top 10, but here's the cool thing about that. Next week we could go toe to toe again, and maybe you'll actually try a little harder.
Roger, we might have to get slides prepared against Andy next week. We might have to prepare.
All right, if I got slides, I got a chance. If I got slides, I got a chance.
All right. And with that, drink if you got them. I don't have one, but go Browns. And
I ran out too.
go Cards. 7 weeks. Let's go.